Yeah, I think. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ahmaduhu wa usalli ala Rasulil Kareem. I am back with Dr. Omar. A lot of people have been saying to me, when are you going to get Dr. Omar back? When are you going to get Dr. Omar back? So here he is, Alhamdulillah. Um, so, Dr. Omar, how are you doing? I'm sure a lot of people out there want to know how you're doing, and so please tell us how you're doing. I did see the some of the projects that you've been doing in terms of fishing and stuff like that. So give us some insight.
Assalamu alaikum, dear Sheikh, and to all of your listeners. Thank you for inviting me again. Um, yes, I'm resituated now in Liberty, Kentucky. This is south central, a bit towards the east of Kentucky. If you just fly southeast from Louisville, you reach us in about 100 miles or so, if you could find us. It's not difficult to find us, but you either have to have GPS or you've got to have good relationships with all the neighbors here so that they'll just tell us where we are. So this is farm country, cow country, people country, farming country. We've got all sorts of neighbor here doing all sorts of things with the land. And Kentucky is, I think, one of the best kept secrets of this waning nation. You can't tell it too much from the people here, though, because almost no one is wearing masks, and very few people are concerned about the COVID mania. So we're up on a sort of a mountain plateau and surrounded by, hundreds of miles of good old boys who are armed to the teeth. So our perimeter is pretty secure. If you want to talk about it, I mean, dear sister Amina and I, we could never have arranged this on our own without the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, it's just a very unique setting. We're also in the middle of Amish country and Mennonite country. There are a lot of these good Christians around us. Matter of fact, almost everyone around us is Christian. We live in Casey County, which is a dry county. There's no alcohol here. You can drive for a few hundred miles. Well, it's 440 square miles. If you wanted to drive in a circle, you'd be driving for quite a while, and you'd never find a bar. And I have never seen a drunk person here since I've been here.
Yeah,
Say again?
That is absolutely amazing in the U.S.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things that keeps this place beautiful. Sobriety of the body and sobriety of the spirit is, they go hand in hand. It's like a marriage, So alcohol is probably the worst drug on the surface of the earth. Everyone's concerned about all the others, but alcohol does more damage. I know this as a medical doctor. It's well established in the literature that alcohol does more damage than all the other drugs put together. But because of the propaganda that's put out by the media, it's made in Hollywood, it's alcohol is normal and all other drugs are outlawed. And well, there are various reasons for that, and that's not the reason we're talking here. But in any case, it's a sober county. And every which way you drive here, there's no sign of a ghetto mentality. There's no sign of debris. There's no littering. Everyone has a home. Most of the people here, there's almost no renters where we are. Everyone owns their own home or little trailer or whatever it is that they're living in on their own piece of land. And sure, they may have a mortgage and whatever, but there's almost, when Amina came here to look for a place to rent, but the only place you could find was a hotel or motel room. I mean, everyone here has their own home, and they keep it well. I mean, if you drive down the roads, these are all country lanes. And there's on either side of the road, no matter where you can drive for hundreds of miles. It's all farmland and it's all neat. The fences are neat. There's no litter in the yards. There's no litter on the streets. Everything is beautiful. I never get tired of going out for a shop or a drive here. It's never boring, and there are no traffic jams. None. I mean none until you get to the bigger cities. And Liberty, where we live, is the county seat, and it's called Liberty because the founding fathers were members of the revolutionary forces that threw off the yoke of England, or they thought that's what they were doing. In retrospect, we now know that that wasn't the case at all. But they enjoyed liberty for personal, material, physical, and spiritual reasons, and the people who live here still enjoy that. One of our favorite cafes, that where we go to eat maybe 2 or 3 times a week, is called the Bread of Life Cafe. And it has a Mennonite background, Mennonite cum Amish background in history. And very, very many people go there. And we were greeted and treated very kindly every which way we turn, on our way there and on our way home, when we sit down to eat. I mean, it's just a wonderful venue. And there are no traffic jams, as I said before. So we're anticipating developing. We have a little piece of land here, 5 acres, with a marvelous pond that has largemouth bass and all sorts of other creatures in it that I haven't caught yet, but I'm working on it. The thing that we're looking forward to is taking this land that Amina and I now call the Promised Land, and I'll get into that metaphor in a few minutes, if you allow me. We're looking forward to developing this Promised Land according to permacultural prospects, the next step along the sort of organic farming road, if you will. We have a permaculture expert here coming here in just 2 weeks to assess the place. He'll stay here and stay with us for 2 or 3 days. He's bringing his best student. This is a man named Wiseman, Khalil Wiseman. He's out of Southern Illinois, I think, and he travels the world doing this sort of thing. And it just so happens that he has all sorts of people seeking his advice and counsel and expertise, and he chose us. And not only did he choose us, but it seems that Allah has chosen him to choose us. And he told me that he's read my work and considers it excellent, and is going to come here and is already in the process of meditating on how to put my work into a geometric pattern that will fit this land organically, ecologically, and spiritually. Now, I think that's just amazing. You don't hear very many people talking about farming in that way. So I'm really looking forward to meeting Mr. Wiseman and getting on with his plans. What he does is he comes, he assesses a place, he studies, meditates, and then makes a sort of a master plan for design. Now we're going to put the ducks here, we'll put the geese over there, we'll put the chickens here, the sheep here, we'll put the greenhouse there, and this is what we're going to do. He does all of these things so that you create a circular, spherical, spiral environment that feeds off of each other on a continuum that is as sustainable as we possibly can make it, and enhance it according to kun faya kun, that we share in common with creation. So this is, for me, is an act of prayer. to approach the development of this little acreage in this manner. I think it's just wonderful, alhamdulillah, that it's going to come to pass, inshallah. So that's
Yeah,
what we're in the process
definitely.
of doing. So again,
Mashallah.
go ahead.
I was saying that it definitely looks like Allah is helping you, and Allah is with you, inshallah. And
Well,
Allah is
it certainly seems that
opening
way,
doors.
brother.
It seems like Allah is opening doors for you, and may Allah, inshallah, keep using you for His deen.
Alhamdulillah, yes. So that's what we're doing. In the meantime, you still have to get settled in, and settling in has been taking us some time. We've been here now just over 2 months, going on 3 months now, and you have to get to know the neighbors. You have to get to know the lay of the land. And you have to settle into the house and sort of slowly make it your own, so that it is comfortable for you and your whatever it is that you're doing. So that's, we're settling
One
in
of the
that
things
way.
that I want to bring to the attention of my audience, to the Muslim
Yes.
people that listen, that's very important. That a lesson I learned from you, and I just want to put that in perspective, is that Dr. Omar was very sensitive to the fact that he's like going into the territory that doesn't belong to him.
Yes, right.
And so if we make hijrah and you're going to a place where it's not your territory, then Dr. Omar was very you can say wise in understanding that he has to let people know that he's safe, and that let them know that he appreciates their kindness to let him into their territory. I think a lot of times, what happens, Dr. Omar, is that even in the cities, like even in for example, Muslims own stores in certain neighborhoods, and they're never appreciative of the fact that, that they're there, or that a certain group of people have allowed them into their territory. We just kind of like just go on with our lives without
Well,
being cognizant of that.
there are some parallels there, but in the city, you see, in the city, you can't compare country life to the city life. In city life, you're dealing with people who don't know each other. I mean, you have a mayor, you have no relationship with them. So you have counselors. You don't have any personal relationship with these people, and this is one of the problems of modern and postmodern societies. I mean, 150 years ago, that was not the case. You had relationship with the people that governed you. And I mean, if you were in a monarchy, for example, you didn't really have to go to war. All you had to do was kill the king, if it was a real problem. I mean, that solves the problem real quickly. But in a city, you don't know who to kill, you see. When, if you've got wickednesses prospering there, and you don't know who to kill, because you don't know who your neighbors are, and you don't know who you're governed by. But here, in a place like Kentucky, in a place like Liberty, everybody knows everybody else one way or another. I've had several meetings now with several people, and discussing this, that, and the next thing. And so said, "Oh, yeah, I know Marcus," or "I know so-and-so, yeah. Then I talk to another person. They all know him. And then I talk to yet another person, and they know him as well. And they have relationships with his children, or whatever the case might be. So there's a small circle of people, a smaller circle of people where they have relationship, you see. And not only do they have relationship, but they have a meaningful relationship. So, for example, we have a meaningful relationship with one of the local Christian churches. And I've already gone there on one occasion, and I've sung the hymns with them. I mean, I had the best voice in the choir. I love to sing. And so they were very, very impressed by that. And now some of the neighbors, two of the pastors have been to my house on 2 or 3 occasions now, just to come and sit down and visit. And one of them comes alone, the other one brings his whole family. He had the second pastor had his family with was visiting from two different places plus a friend, and they brought them all along. So, um, and this, and then we sit down and you get to know them, and you get to share good advice about the locals and what is expected, what's not expected, what is taboo, what is permitted. All of these things are necessary, and who is responsible. You see, what you have in the city, you don't know who's responsible for what. So you might have a little corner store there, and you got a landlord, but your knowledge of the neighborhood doesn't go much further than the landlord, and that's a problem. When you have to deal with the immediate vicinity, which might have 1,000 to 1,500 people living in high-rise apartments, all within a block, you see. So if you don't know who's who, I mean, and you can't possibly know who's who under those circumstances because there's no organization for it. But here you have people, they're organized in families. Their families are very strong. They're very solid. They stick together. Their marriages, are for years and years and years. I mean, we're talking decades, and it's just very constant. I mean, they're just solid as solid can be, and the families are solid, and the people take care of their elders, which is one of the things I really admired about the Thai people. You don't have rest homes. I haven't seen any rest homes here. The elders are taken care of at the home. If they get sick, of course, they go to a local hospital. Every little town has a local hospital, and then you have your regional hospitals. But I haven't seen any rest homes. The old folks stay at home. And most of your old folks here are still pretty hardy. I just had one neighbor tell me about the neighbors who were 88 years old, still growing tomatoes with a broken hip. So, and it's a different environment when you're dealing in a rural community as opposed to the urban community. Okay. Here, people know each other.
But the lesson is that if Muslims make hijrah and they happen to be with non-Muslims, which could be a very good strategy, that they should be cognizant of how they approach.
Well,
if there's a leader.
Yes. It's just as when Muhammad sent his people to Ethiopia. I mean, the king took responsibility, and the Muslims there were responsible and answerable to the king. You see, you can't just walk in there and start bashing people over the head with the Quran. That's not going to work.
Right, of course.
If that's not the proper form of what you call it, missionary work, da'wah. Yeah, it's not the proper form of da'wah.
Dr. Omar, let me ask you this. This is kind of like going on a different topic, but it touches about you coming back to the U.S. And I remember, I don't know how many of the audience remembers, but I remember, maybe it was a private phone call me and you had, but you said, I had a dream. I think I'm going to be coming back to the U.S. And you kept saying, I don't know what it means, but I've seen myself come back in a dream. So I don't know how. At that time, you were like, I don't know how it's going to work out, but that's what I've seen. So let's see what happens. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, it was like that.
And then the topic I wanted to touch on, that's different from this topic that we're just talking about, but it does tie in some ways, is that you've been out of the U.S. for what, 20 years, 30 years?
More than 20 years, yeah.
And
I swore, everyone who knows me knows I didn't want to come back. I had no intentions of returning to the States. And even my return here was against my own will.
So the question is, how has America changed? And I asked this question also because I think a lot of times we forget how much things have changed. And I think you're in a good place, especially as an intellectual, to talk about how America has changed and what changes have you seen this country going through, and where do you see the future? considering the changes?
Well,
I told you I'd give you a loaded question that's
oh,
different.
that's loaded. Yeah, that's loaded. Um, there's a definite lack of order, probably law as well. But the laws you have here, there. I mean, if you want to know where evil reigns, you just look at the laws. The more laws you have, the greater the evil
Hmm.
governing the land.
Wow, that's
Um,
a profound statement.
well, that's. I'm not the first one to make that. I think was this fellow by the name of Bastiat, a lawyer, legalist, and historian, made that statement about 200 years ago. Um, so there's a definite lack of order. And when I say order, I'm talking about social order, political order, and spiritual order, mental orders, rational order. The what I noticed more than anything else when I came back was of course everyone was wearing a mask when I came back, and it's irrational. It's not. It's completely and totally unscientific. There's no medical rationale for it. Um, but it is now what we can say is safely say politically correct. And as I went through the country from New York and then over to Buffalo, and I saw everybody doing this, I said, "Oh my God, this country's lost its mind, and this is mindless, and this is the meaning behind the movies that have been predicting zombies, because what you have is." When people ignore scientific evidence and they just blindly obey, this is what takfiri, they've lost their reason. They've lost their capacity to think independently, individually. And so they've become zombies. That's what they're doing. And when someone wearing a mask refuses to allow you a privilege that is yours by divine right, then they are eating you. They are eating your privilege. They are eating your freedom, you see. So you've got a nation of zombies now, and that was prophesied. Hollywood made no bones about it. I mean, they just put it out there now for 2 decades. I mean, I think the decades, most of the zombie films I haven't seen because I was out of the country, but they've been around for 2 or 3 decades, these zombie things. And what's that? That's just the next development of vampirism, because vampirism is eating the other one in order to survive. That's what it is, and it's the evil entity eating, whatever victim they get their teeth into. So that's what zombiehood is doing. And so when you lost the order, the social order that maintains divine order, in other words, you've lost political adab, okay, so that the hierarchy is no longer in the divine order, so that you have the lowest of you, the worst of you, at the seat of governance, which is what the prophet said would happen in this day and age. And not only that, he said, look, they're going to look pretty damn good too. They're going to be handsome. They're going to be beautiful. They're going to sing the Quran in the greatest with the greatest of melodies and voices, and they're going to build all these wonderful gilded houses of worship. Well, there's no difference between the hadiths which point to the Muslims in that effect than there is to the American government. We've got the worst of the worst. I mean, Joe Biden, he's a mental case, this man. He's no longer in his right mind. He hasn't been in his right mind for a number of years. Not only that, he's wicked, evil, and selfish, and so is his son. And they're in the seats of power. And Americans have gladly voted them into power, which shows you how mindless the country's become, you see. So the division that I see between what some people want to say it red and blue, it has some reality there. And there is certainly justification for those who do not want to support such mindlessness, either on the street or in seats of authority. And what it's going to come to, in answer to the question, is seeing the future. I'm just kind of trying to sum this up with the zombie thing, you see, rather than go into all the details. So the details would just get lost in them. But what's going to happen is that if good men do not pick up the gun and kill the right people, the powers that be are going to force a sort of pseudo civil war, because what we don't need a civil war. Civil war is no good for anybody. What we need is a coup. You see, we need a coup, and we need regionalization under a military authority immediately after the coup. And the regionalization, its purpose is to set up independent civil governance in those confederacies, say 4 or 5 confederacies, because America is too big to govern under one roof, under one house. And so if we don't have a coup and set up 4 or 5 different confederacies and immediately move into a civil government under the right sort of leadership, then civil war will occur. And when civil war occurs, not only will the army come in, but the army's already legally bound to follow the UN auspices, and the powers that be will bring in UN forces, and they will bring in the Eastern European forces, they will bring in the Chinese. And either extreme there, they're not going to have any reservations about mowing the grass when they enter any of the bigger cities here. They'll just kill everybody in sight until everybody sits down and shuts up. So if the good old boys in the good old states of America don't pick up their guns and perform the right kind of coup, it has to be under some sort of military leadership, then this country's lost. Now, we've had this conversation before, but I didn't go into that kind of detail before. But I did think about it, actually, while I was meditating this morning after prayer. So it occurred to me, and I must have been in anticipation to your question today. So it looks like we're in sync, as it were. So, I mean, that's my take on it. Knowing what I know, studying the history that I've studied, and knowing what the powers that be have at their disposal and how desperate they are to keep their positions. And also, this is in keeping with eschatology. There's, you're going to have to choose your ground, and hope. When I say choose your ground, you're going to have to do that like I did. I didn't choose this ground, you see. I'm choosing to stay in it, okay? But Allah chose it for me. You understand? Allah brought me here under very difficult circumstances and against my will. I kind of felt like Prophet Yunus, coming back to, he swallowed me. Allah swallowed me and then spat me out on the shore here. And I'm not particularly happy about it, but I'm here and I'm going to do my best at it because my will is not necessarily Allah's will. And it's better when you join your will to Allah's will. My will was to stay in Thailand. Matter of fact, I didn't anticipate going to Thailand when I had left the States 20 years ago. But I'm saying that because, you never know what the future is going to bring, and you never know what Allah's will really is, but you do know what it is when it's being activated. And you don't know what the end is, but you know what the immediate consequences are going to be, and you know how to prepare for the immediate prepare immediate needs. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. So when I say choose your ground, for God's sake, don't misunderstand me. Let Allah choose it for you. Now, a lot of people are writing to me and say, oh, how can we get to the mountain? How are we going to do this? How are we going to follow? You know, Allah has to make the plan for you. You have to submit yourself to Allah, you see, and then you have to follow. And Allah, look, Allah made a couple, 3 dreams very clear to me about this move. I didn't want it. And then there were a series of circumstances that just slapped me in the face, back and forth and back and forth. And then I finally had to say, okay, I have to go, whether I want to or not, you see. So
let me again,
yes.
Let me again take you to a different topic.
Okay.
And it has to do more with, you know, it's part of this chaos, but specifically with cases that I deal with, there's a lot of this, and I wonder what your take is on this. This is, like I said, a totally different topic. And maybe we can tie it to the situation in America, I guess. But a lot of Muslim youth and a lot of young married couples, the guys particularly, they have an attitude of, I don't care. Or why should I care? I don't care. They're just in a complete state of, I don't know if it's fatalism, if it's like, you know, what it is, just nihilistic, like, just like, I don't care. Like, they don't care.
Well, yeah, what's this fellow's name? The Canadian professor Peterson. He said a couple of years ago that nihilism is the result of postmodernism. Okay. Because postmodernism has eroded all of our cultural values. And there's a parallel with that when you look at the Ummah. The Ummah has followed the West, and, you know, pretty much like the Prophet said they were going to do. If you make friends with Jews and Christians who make friends with each other, well, we'll say, I shouldn't use the word friends. What we use is the word covenant. Now, because we just had EID, and, you know, the celebration of a covenant. You see, so when you make a covenant with the wrong people, and then you're kind of obliged to follow them, and when you make a covenant that is against the command of Allah, then Allah leaves you to your own resources. He no longer helps you. He no longer protects you. He no longer guides you. This sort of thing. And so this has happened to the Ummah, which is why you have this hopelessness that you speak of amongst the youth. They don't care. This is evidence of hopelessness. They've lost hope. Well, what are we hoping for? We're hoping for basically a redemption in the long run. Redemption. We want to return to Allah on good terms. Okay, so, and of course that's by means of Allah's grace, but the only thing we take with us to the grave, plus our, you know, is our grave cloth and our deeds, and we hope that they're going to be good. You see, hope. So if you don't have an environment that is going to be suitable to the enforcement of good and the prevention of evil, then hope is lost. This hope is lost.
Oh,
see, in the youth, and that's what happens in the Ummah, because everywhere you go in the Ummah, you've got a bunch of alim who are no longer enforcing what is good, and by making sure that justice is carried out. You see, now if you look at a group like the Taliban, they or, you know, ISIS, they go to extreme. They're extremists in this matter. So the element of justice here is not in the middle, where is the path of the Tao or the path of Islam. Islam is the middle path between both extremes, either justice or complete lack of it. You've got to have the middle path. Well, the youth don't see justice either in the Ummah or on the streets in the secular world. It's not there, you see. So it's going to be lost. Now, the only thing that restores hope is manliness, you see. so that the men have to stand up and do what is right. And by doing what is
How does a
right as
Muslim,
well,
how does a young, I've encountered a lot of young youth
yeah,
with
yeah.
so much potential, but they're in broken homes. Mom is divorced from dad.
Uh,
Like I'm talking about people that have potential like 16, 17, 18 years old, but they've been through their own issues. They have potential, but they're not able to pull themselves together,
mm,
you know. And a lot of them are listening to me and you and are like, yeah, yeah, things are wrong, but then they can't do anything in their own life. Like they don't have
yeah,
stability in their own life.
you have to have a community. You know, as much as I dislike uh, Madam Clinton, you know, she coined this phrase. It takes a community and to raise a child, and this is a her approach to having the state take your child away from you. You see,
No,
she was justifying the government's position there, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is it does take a community to raise a child
mm,
and to raise them properly. This is what something, for example, that the Native Americans in this country did. They would have council meetings every once in a while amongst the family and then amongst the group of the tribe leaders, and they would assess the children and say, "Oh, what do you think of so and so?" And then Uncle so and so would say, "Oh, I think we need to change her name from Little Sweetheart to Running Bear." Okay, because she's changed. And now we can see her personality growing. And so they would then name the child according to the direction in which they saw that child's strength. And then they would, all the elders would then have an idea, okay, so and so is going to be a hunter, so and so is going to be an artist, so and so is going to be an archer, so and so is going to be a warrior, this sort of thing. So the child so and so was brought up by the tribe, was brought up by everyone involved in the tribe. So this takes us back to where we started in this conversation, so that the cities, you're faced with a bunch of strangers, and the
mm,
strangers don't care about you. And if your own community and a stranger in a community, in the larger community, in the macro community, was filled with all these nameless faces, they don't care about you. And if your own community doesn't care about these people not caring about you, and they're not providing you the guidance that you need, and you know your family is separated from its root family, everybody's displaced now. And this is part of the postmodern and the modern world. This is part of the occult activity, you see, to remove people. My father used to call them displaced persons after the Second World War. You see, people were no longer in the environment where they were nurtured. They're in a
mm,
strange environment. They have no relatives, they have no friends. And there's an element of challenge in that, perhaps Allah is testing us with in this end time, because it's no longer possible to have the community that it takes to raise the child. You have to sort of forge it out of families that have no relationship with each other, you see, and that's difficult to do.
mm,
And that requires stronger leadership, and it requires more manliness and more womanliness.
mm,
Okay, so that instead of panicking, instead of uh, not showing up, okay, when decisions have to be made, they're there, and they're there for the child, and they say to the child, yes, you can do this, no, you can't do that, and we're going to make sure that this is the case, that this is your future, and we'll do our best to it. But that doesn't mean you become a dictator. You see, on the other hand, for example, Amina has a 9-year-old boy, Mahdi, and he's a lovely child. He's very, very smart. And he's been alone most of his 9 years,
Mm.
isolated from a wider community, and so has Amina. So we're doing what we can to establish relationships with other people here that have meaning and purpose that will help to guide him, because we can't do it ourselves. Even I, you see, as smart and perhaps even as whatever wisdom I do have, I don't have what it takes to raise this boy on my own.
Mm.
I can help, I can provide some direction, but on my own, I can't do it. It takes the community. It takes a village.
Mm.
Okay. So you have to create that village. And in order to create that village, you have to have men and women who consciously join together for a specific purpose. And that purpose is specifically to prepare the next generation to take over and to care for them when they're too old to care for themselves. You see, this is the cycle of life. Now, this is not an anonymous thing. Right now, we have an anonymous government, and they're sending out anonymous checks all over the place of worthless money, worthless fiat, you see, as Imran Hussein made so clear to all of us these past several years. So everything's anonymous. So if you want to address the issue, you can no longer remain anonymous. You have to stand your ground, just like a warrior stands their ground and say, this is my stake, I'm not moving, this is my land, I'm going to defend it to death, okay? And that means I'm going to defend not only the land, but the families in the land, you see?
Mhm.
So this relationship already exists here amongst most of the people that I've met in this community. It's already there. It's unspoken, but you can feel it, you can sense it. When you talk to the men here, it's as if they all have an unspoken covenant. And the women are standing right behind their men 100%. And no questions asked. There's no question of dividing the family. It's unheard of. It just doesn't happen. You see? Now, I'm not saying that, you know, there aren't exceptions. There are always going to be exceptions. But this solidity, this unification is what is needed in order to overcome the dysphoria that you mentioned before, this loss of hope, this carelessness, because that's a dangerous place to be. To not care about the future means you don't care about meeting your Lord. And that's not a good place to be. Because caring about the future means that you have your Lord in mind, no matter how bad the outward circumstances are. That means what you're describing, what you're telling me is that these children have lost their Islam. And they've lost their Islam because, they've lost their Islam because the leaders have lost it. Islam has one purpose, and that is to maintain justice. The maintenance of justice is what keeps people on the right path to our reunion with Allah. Without justice, the walls of Islam tumble down and everyone enters. Every liar and lie under the sun can come in. Every form of pretension can come in. And when that comes in, the father of lies was called Iblis. Iblis was called the father of lies, all right, by Isa in the New Testament and by others, okay? So we know that, and the Quran has much to say on this, and you know more than I do on that matter. When justice falls, Iblis has full license to lie. And when the lies come into the house and the liars come into the house, hope is gone. Islam is gone. There is no Islam. Doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. It matters what these hands do. It matters what they do. Okay. It matters where your feet take you,
Mm.
whether to a righteous or an unrighteous deed. You see, and if you're running from responsibilities, this is unrighteous, and that's a loss of justice.
Mm.
You see, joined, when you witnessed the marriage between Amin and myself, you asked each one of us, "Do you want this marriage?" And then you asked us, "Will you take responsibility?"
Mm.
You see, because that is, well, what does this mean? It means to take responsibility for meeting each other's needs
Mm.
before Allah. Okay. And this is the maintenance of justice
Mm.
between husband and wife.
Mm.
Well, when the maintenance of justice is lacking between husband and wife, then what happens is Iblis has full license to come in. And what does Iblis do? He separates, he destroys. That's what he does. That's what his job is.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're taught, the ultimate separation is to take you to hell. He said, "I'm going to take as many to hell as possible."
Interesting.
And the Quran says, yes, yes, Allah says, yes, I have created many men for the hellfire. That was not Allah's intention. But they're destined for the hellfire when they make this choice not to maintain justice, not to stand up and be men, not to stand up and be the man, you see, who's going to make the correct decisions and take responsibility. Yeah. So
The other thing,
yes.
the other
Yeah,
thing
go
that
on.
a lot of Muslim youth who are, they're trying to practice Islam, and they have a lot of distractions in life. I could tell you about one particular young man here who has a lot of potential. He's a scholar, very good scholar from a scholarly perspective, meaning
Yes.
even I trust his fatwas and his way of reasoning things out and his knowledge of the texts, the classical texts. Very vast. But because he's young and he's either doing, I'm not talking about this particular person, but they're doing weed or they're smoking or they're watching porn or and they feel guilty and that kills them. And then I'll be like, "No, you're the future of Islam." And they're like, no, don't even say that. I'm like so bad, don't even what would you say to people in that state?
I say, well, everybody sins, you see.
That's the approach I've had too, is like, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah, let's move forward. Let's get past it. And when you've got that sort of situation, you've got to explain the purpose of the relationship with Allah, and is to actually to find meaning for your life, and meaning is only found in relationship. And so then in order to find the meaningful relationship, you have to perform tawbah, and then you have to do istikhara in order to ask Allah, well, who do I belong with? What should I do? And the Prophet told us, he said, look, I'm going to leave behind, these dreams. That's going to be the element of a prophecy that I leave behind. 1/49th of my gift. Ah, hey, listen, I'm happy with that one 1/49th bit, because it's made a big difference to me personally. I've experienced it. I wish it, and I've experienced it even before I was a Muslim, many years before I was a Muslim. I just didn't know what it was. And I didn't know what it was because there was no one there to tell me what it was and why it was important, you see. So in answer to this, when you're talking to these young people and they're lost in this wilderness of sin, because that's what the wilderness is. It's an allegorical term in the scriptural sense. You're lost in the wilderness, and what you want to do is you want to explain Islam in terms that are relevant, and this is where the alim fail. They have failed to make Islam relevant in today's world. one of the few preachers that I've heard who is actually making things relevant. I don't consider myself a preacher. I'm more of a teacher, but and writer. But one of the few preachers that I've heard make Islam relevant is this fellow Numan Ali Khan. I think he's down there someplace in Texas.
Noman used to be a
Yes.
student of mine for like 2 years.
He's wonderful. He does it. He makes it relevant. Okay, and he's one of the few that I would
He was one of
recommend it. Yeah.
yeah. He was
Go on,
he
go on.
used to live in New York when Sheikh Imran Hussein was there, and he used to
Mhm.
also listen to Sheikh Imran Hussein at that time. Noman has done a great, tremendous job, I think, as far as Quran and relevancy is concerned. Absolutely. You know.
Yes. And I see you doing the same thing, but I don't listen to much of your work. I just don't have time to do this. And the only thing the only time I listen to Newman is when Amina and I are on our way to to do some shopping, and she'll put him on the radio, and I'll listen. I say, "Oh, this guy's making sense." Yeah, that's right. And I'm saying, I'm sitting there, and I'm in the amen corner. You got it? I'm right there, staying right on. Yeah, that's it. He's got it. And so I never listened to him before, recently, because I just didn't know. But he's one. There was another fella that I heard preach in Kuala Lumpur who really made Islam relevant. And this was unfortunately a fellow who, one of my colleagues, and he had lost the courage to preach. And this was again related to his past life of sin. He's one of these. He was one of these fellows who was a bit like. I don't know, one of the great saints, or like Saint Francis, or one of the great Muslim leaders. They had sinned in their youth, and then they had a spiritual awakening, and they regained their relationship with Allah, and then they became great men and great teachers and great preachers. Well, he was one of these fellows. He was always a gifted preacher. A gifted preacher is somebody who can, tell the story and make it relevant. And that's what the Quran is. It's one book. It's one big, long book of relevance. It's also repetitious. When there's something that's important in the Quran, the story is told again and again. The phrase is repeated. It's repeated. If it's repeated more than 3 or 4 times, whatever is being repeated there is very, very significant. And there's always a way to connect that significance to the present period. What many alim have made the mistake is they get lost in the past, and they don't connect it with the present. And they don't find the examples in the present that are relevant to the kids, and they just don't understand. So, but this fellow, he lost his courage to preach because he never performed tawbah for the evil deeds that he had done. You see, so tawbah is something that reunites us with Allah. You can have this moment of awakening and say, "Oh gosh, I've been such an idiot. I've been such, oh, how do I get my relationship back with Allah? I need to have this." And of course, the Christians want you to come to the front of the altar and say, "Thank you, Jesus," to just accept Jesus. But how does the Muslim do this? Well, the Muslim doesn't need Jesus. The Muslim doesn't need anybody. The Muslim needs to confess himself privately on the prayer carpet, okay, and say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry for this, that, and the next thing." And don't just say, "Oh, these are not just general sins." You got to specify the thing, because the demon or the jinn that's attached to that thing is still with you. It's still with you. And so you got to name that thing. In naming it, this is adab. You're being adamic here. You're calling the thing what it is. And you're telling Allah, "I know what this thing is. This is the thing." And Allah's, the angels are saying, okay, he just said it. We've been waiting 20 years for him to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
We've been waiting 25 years for him to confess that thing, and now it's done. And then Allah says, okay, give him what he needs. He's run to me. I'm going to run double fast to him. Forgive him. Now, give him that dream. Make that connection. Make it happen for this fellow. And if you read I'm reading this book slowly now by Jilani called The Unseen, Revelations of the Unseen. Wonderful, wonderful book. He spells his path out. So I would make this a book of relevance for these young kids, the young Muslims who've lost their hope, because Jelani spells it out. He said, "This is what's going to happen. These are the circumstances. This is human nature. This is the path of the sinner. This is the path of the saint. They're not all that different." You see, and if you even the saint sometimes is going to be rejected and tested severely by Allah, just to see whether or not he's serious. Well, yeah, isn't that what your wife wants to know? Do you love me? Are you serious about me? Yeah, of course. Allah, it's no different. Are you serious about me? Do you really mean what you say? Or are you just forming the words? Had they not got past your throat, into the heart, and then into the will, so that your hands and your feet take you where you should be doing the good deeds with the right people at the right time in the right place? Because people are not in the right place doing the right thing with the right people, that is the cause of the loss of hope. That's nihilism.
So, Dr. Omar, let me ask you another question that kind of goes to another topic, but
Sure.
I guess kind of like interrelated. The future of America, is it more towards Christianity, or is it more like secular atheistic? Or is this going to become two worlds?
Well, they're blending the two. You have to remember that Christianity is it's just another false religion. It's close to the truth, but it isn't. You see, because what happened is 2,000 years ago, the Romans and the Kabbalah Jews, they got together and they created this new religion out of the old religions, the old mystery religions, and they used the same patterns and they transformed it in what now has become Rome. Excuse me. Now, we had the Protestant Reformation, but it didn't go far enough. And the Jews and the Jesuits, the Jews using the Jesuits, have now won the Protestant Reformation. The final blow came during the Second World War when they used Hitler to kill all their enemies. And so the Catholic Church has risen. But what is the Catholic Church? It's not the Christianity that people think it is, and neither is the Russian Orthodox Church, because they teach pretty much the same thing, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Well, this is not the religion of Abraham, you see, not at all. It's not the religion of Isa, not at all. So they're using Christianity and they're using it to create this false sense of God and country and this false sense of patriotism. And they're using that patriotism to create a form of idolatry that worships the Queen of Heaven. And the Queen of Heaven has been standing in New York Harbor for over 100 years. I think in 1887, somewhere thereabouts. And that's the result. That was the gift from the French Masonic Lodge, which was the Jewish lodge, the highest lodge of Freemasonry on the planet of the Earth, on the planet Earth at the time. So this is idolatry. So they're taking this idolatry, and when you're practicing idolatry, it's very, very easy. You've been to the football games, you've seen them, hand over the heart, saluting the flag, and there's always the flag and the Statue of Liberty. This is idolatry. This is mind control.
Mm.
The whole entire nation's been conditioned to worship these two symbols, which cause them to lose their reason and follow their leaders, whatever their leaders are doing. Well, the leaders are already secularists, but their secularism is satanic, because the moment you see, let me make this perfectly clear. You could call something whatever you want to call it, but there's only two religions in the world. There's the religion of truth and there's religion of the lie. And you see, the lie has all kinds of subdivisions. So secularism is just another form of the lie. And Christianity is another form of the lie. Judaism has become another form of the lie. So all of these things are forms of the same lie. Now, the Catholic Church wants to blend all these lies in, and they want to call it universalism or perennialism. This is something that people like Syed Nasir, I've forgotten his name, they get involved in. You've met these people. You were there at Washington. You know, that's what they, you know. They want to say, oh, okay, well, they've made the mistake. They're making the mistake of trying to unify the religions without Islam, and the Muslims are going to follow them because all of the religions have some basis in truth. They began with some form of truth, but then the lie entered in, and then when the lie enters in, Allah withdraws from the lie. He's no longer part of it, you see. So the people of the lie are the people of Iblis. And no matter what you call the lie, no matter what name you give it, you know, nihilism, secularism, humanism, it doesn't make any difference. All of these isms are part of the lie, you see. And now what you have is you have perennialists amongst the Muslims. They're going to join in with the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church is at the top of the pyramid in the world governance. Now, you've seen this. All of the presidents of the world, the prime minister, they all go to meet the Pope. Why is this? It's a ritual. It's a satanic ritual. It's part of the faith. It's part of the faith of the secret government.
Okay.
Part of the faith of secret government. So the future lies in a form of secular humanism that's going to be transposed into this Catholic means universal, by the way, this Catholic perennialism, okay? And that's what's going to happen. And they're going to form this sort of false religion, and they're going to join the United Nations to it. The United Nations will probably be transmogrified, and it will become even given a new name, but it will just be the next stage of its evolution. And then they're going to take this whole capital and put it in Jerusalem.
Okay, so Dr. Omar, as we come to an end of our program for today, because I think it's been over an hour, but I didn't finish without answering some questions people have. How do they become your students? Number one. And number two, you have projects that you want to complete, like you want to get certain books published of yours that are very, very
okay, thank you very much. Amina, Sister Amina and I are working feverishly to establish a new website. And I probably don't have very many years left on the planet here. And I want to make the best use of them. I've been abandoned by my publishers. They don't respond. They haven't paid me royalties, and I don't know what the status of the publications are. They're not responding to me. I don't know what's in stock, what's not in stock. Most of the books that I've written have had limited edition, so we want to redo them, make them available in EPUB format and print on demand format. And we're going to establish a new website called algeco.com, and this will allow students to access me directly. We will hope to have student forums. I'll have different forums where people like yourself can come on, and other teachers, other brothers and sisters can can have conversations like we're having here in a sort of a forum venue. And I have a private forum that the students can join on that website that would allow them to have access to me and to share the things that I publish and others publish and share with each other, you see. So that's the website is just about ready. We're testing it now. And I have a series of lectures which present a worldview which is kind of unique. You see, the problem is that I've seen, and others have told me, that I'm the only one doing this, so it's not just my own surmise. The problem is that people are not thinking in Tawhid pattern, so that when they get onto an idea, they glom onto that idea, and they get caught up in the details, and they don't connect the dots in a Tawhid fashion. And when I get onto a subject, I'm one of the few people who take it back to the beginning, who take it back to Genesis, and then bring it back forward, whatever the idea is. And I try to make it relevant scripturally and also in today's world, relevant to today's world. And so I've done a series of lectures, which I call Campfire Talks. I've worked very hard, many hours to do those. So those are going to have a paywall. It won't be too expensive, but it's going to demand some funds, some payment. And then those monies will then go to help finance the republishing of my books in whatever format I can get them available to. So fortunately, alhamdulillah, Amin and I do not.
Assalamu alaikum. I can't hear you.
Bismillah. Bismillah. So what I was saying is that fortunately, Amina and I, we do not need funds to live on. I was in that situation last year, but now that circumstances have changed. But we do need funds to help to get my work into formats that will be more readily available to a wider population, a wider readership and listener base.
Okay, mashallah, inshallah. So so once your website's up, then I think that's probably the best time to maybe let people.
Yeah, when it's up, we can have another meeting unless you want to talk about something else between now and then. It should be up and running within the next month or two. It's very close now.
Mashallah. So at least for now, if everyone does dua and just kind of like gets their checks ready, or starts reserving money. And
get ready to stand your ground, dear people, dear brothers and sisters. Get ready to stand your ground wherever it is that Allah has placed you. That's more important. If you want to understand the present age, then it would be advisable for you to listen to my campfire talks, because I make it very, very clear over a period of, I think I have about 4 different groups of those talks, 22, 24 hours of talks, which I very carefully prepared over the last 10 to 15 years. So those talks will help you to understand the present hour. And I don't think we have much time left. So do your best to prepare, and please form your communities and make them meaningful for the sake of your children. Stop all this bickering with each other, between husband and wife, between neighbors. Your opinion is not important. Your good deeds are far more important than your opinion.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to
so
your good deeds are more important than your opinion.
That's right. And if Allah wants you to have an opinion, he'll give it to you. So make sure it's from him. Alhamdulillah. And on that note, I'll say wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.